Are we live yet?
Yep, we are.
StreamYard hasn't told me that yet, but I'll take your word for it. I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg, and I may be a liar.
Okay, well,
maybe we're not live. No, we are. We were live.
We're live. We may lie. I don't know. But anyway, we are the CRM Playaz. You know what? Oh, now I know we're live because I just got the notification from, you can't really see it really well. Notification from LinkedIn saying we're live. So
me too.
Yeah, me there too. It is. And you know what else tells you we're live? Our moment of spin has arrived.
Oh my God. All right. Now this is Gaelic or I'd say Gaelic, like Irish Gaelic. Sorry about that. Going to be coughing throughout. I'm saying Gaelic here.
I don't know what. I'm not even going to venture a guess. So, Sven, let us know. I think I don't know what Gaelic looks like, but I wasn't going to say that. I was going to say some form.
I know what Irish language, but Gaelic. I'm presuming it's.
Oh, look.
What? Gaelic. All right. Got it.
You're on. All right. There you are. Woo. Greetings, my friends. And that's right back at you.
In Gaelic.
I was going to try to say that, but no, I'll just say ditto.
Be a notched in mode. I can't figure that out either.
Nah, I'm not even going to try.
Let's get Paul Sweeney on to pronounce it for us.
Oh, okay. Yeah, if you're out there, Paul, give us record that.
And send it on over.
Anyway, we are the CRM Playaz, and this is going to be a really interesting show. We're going to have some guests. Kind of normally.
Wow, that's different.
Yeah, we're going to have some guests.
This is a whole new turn for us.
Yeah, but before we have some guests, we're actually going to do this little thing, this intro thing. Where we talk for a little bit before we bring the guests on.
Is it going to be one of these things where you're gonna drop something on me I wasn't expecting again?
I don't think so.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for honoring a venerable man.
Well, we'll see. I don't know. We'll see how it all goes. But no. This is what is this? The third show of the year? I mean, we're in the high gear now. Something like that.
Wait a minute. What? This is the 19th. Yeah. Third show. Oh,
yeah. We're almost into February. This is like,
going too fast for me.
Yeah, it is. But you know what? Let me do that. I'll do this. This is like our commercial. See, this is the problem with this stuff. Let's see. I think it's going to be this one. Let's see. All right. I'm right. All right. Look, we got our own little billboard that lets people know that we are here Thursdays at 3 p.m. Eastern. Wow.
You'll see that on California 409.
What's funny about that is you're going to see it sooner than you think. All right. So we have an announcement. A new show.
Oh, okay. Oh, wait. He is dropping something on me. And for all I know, even though I think I know what the new show is, knowing you might just, like you did with John Reed, you just drop another one on me that I wasn't aware of.
Now this is Up the Rabbit Hole. Oh.
Up from the rabbit hole.
No, I just said up that rabbit hole, whatever. Oh, yeah, we'll words
with might want to. Yeah, we might want to fix that one.
That's why I was like,
no, not up from the. That's all right. We'll get it. We'll fix it later.
That's why I asked the question. Why are we doing?
Oh, I didn't realize that was missing.
That was missing. Anyway, we got a show on tech. You want to talk about it?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? As you know, aside from the fact that Brent and I have been doing CRM Playaz for many years. And launched the network. As you probably also know, we are total geeks. And when it comes to all the equipment we're using. And here's the thing. actually is a very practical application for the stuff we're using, and we've learned a lot along the way. We've met people along the way who know as much or more than we do, and we decided that why not bring a show into the PPN network that would discuss how, look, hybrid work is here to stay, right? I don't care of all the people who say I was going back to the office, even though I did say work from home was okay. They're still working from home. And the idea is a lot of executives out there who are spokespeople for their companies. There are a lot of individuals who need to have basically high quality audio and video from their house. So that basically serves one of two purposes. Purpose one is video and audio are not a distraction, meaning it doesn't freeze, it doesn't break up, it doesn't go bad, it's not a distraction. Purpose two, the other end of the spectrum, is it actually adds to the experience. This show will cover all of that, right? And will be a combination of just people who do it and experts in the field of, say, lighting or sound or whatever, but a combination of those over time. So you'll get a full range, and we will be available for questions all the time. Why don't you explain our first guests?
Well, hold on a second. As you can see, I'm afraid to like put myself back on screen because I was trying to do something, but I don't think I'll be able to do it. So I'll just go back to me. Anyway,
Okay.
so yeah. So what's cool about this? Well, I think what's cool about this is we've over the last several years, particularly I guess since the pandemic, we've played with, bought, tested out a lot of different stuff as we were going through this journey, so to speak. And in terms of, when the pandemic hit, I was a little bit before, I was really fascinated with video, but when the pandemic hit and everything shut down, and there was a moment, at least for me, where I was like, all these conferences that we go to are getting canceled. Part of this is how we make our living.
Yep.
What's going to happen? And so one of the things that one of the companies that held an event, they canceled their face to face, but they came back and said, "What can we do virtually?" And I was like, "Wow, that's pretty cool." And I'd been playing around with LinkedIn Live, and we've been tossing around the idea of doing more and more with the players. And so I was like, "Well, why don't we try like a LinkedIn Live weekly thing leading up to your event?" And it worked out great. And then we started buying more and more stuff because we didn't want to look like the traditional Zoom or whatever. Everybody's getting sick of that same look. And so we were like, well, why don't we buy some better audio equipment? Hey, that camera looks pretty good. Oh, what is this thing called? This ATEM thing.
Yeah.
And so we started. I think that was the one that kind of tipped the scales. Let me see. Do I have that thing where I got all this junk around? I can't even see it anymore. But this is it. I can get it. This is the thing. This is the thing that really set us down the rabbit hole.
Yep.
What this is, and we're not doing our first episode. You're gonna have to wait for that. But this little guy here allows us to plug in 4 different video inputs and do something like this. Well, why is that one down? Something. Oh, well, wait a minute. No, we don't want that. Anyway, this allows you to do. I'm wondering where's the third camera? Where's my other camera? Why did it go down? Anyway,
well, I can show an easy one here. Look, allows us to do that.
Yeah, but I was really hoping. I don't know what I did with. I must have done something anyway. So this stuff allows you, and I'll go back to my main screen here. All this stuff, these little pieces of things. This allows you to plug in 4 different video inputs and then go back and forth and change the views. And we got different kinds of cameras and microphones to make it sound better because part of this whole experience with video is audio. So we have literally spent, I don't know how many hours, and I ain't even trying to add up all the dollars right now of things that we have bought and tried. And as we got back onto the conference scene the second half of last year, we noticed it wasn't just us. There were lots of other folks that were starting to do this, and it was being able to kind of present thought leadership in a much different way than it was going on before the pandemic. And so as we went through our different events and saw people, coming, doing things and asking us a lot of questions, we were like, maybe we can do a show that helps people understand, what kind of things or how to make a decision as to what camera to buy or why you should use this piece of equipment if you're trying to get this kind of effect or impact with your thought leadership. So we said, why don't we do it? And why don't we actually not just have us talking? Because quite honestly, you guys ought to be tired of us talking. But that's on you. That isn't on us.
That's right.
So we've
We don't
decided
like you.
yeah. I mean, sometimes I just shut up because I don't want to hear myself. But anyway, so we decided we're going to bring in folks that we saw out there that are thought leaders and industry analysts that are also doing this, buying this stuff. Bring them on, talk to them about what they're buying and why they're buying it, how it's impacted the way that they do their job. And we're also going to bring in some folks that are really experts in different aspects of some of this technology. And our first guest, one of our first guests, because we kind of have one that fits the first description, thought leader who has gone down the rabbit hole. We saw him out on I think it was at the Zoho event, and he had like the biggest suitcase of gear that I started getting kind of envious, but that's besides the point. That's Dave Smith. But we're also going to have our first guest, one of our first guests, be Monique Johnson, who is somebody I know from Atlanta. She's a video production expert, and she's a millennial. So it's, they're kind of more natively bound to this stuff. So we want to get different kinds of perspectives and views and how people are using it and what they're using, and do that in a separate forum than the traditional CRM Playaz show. So that is what are you calling this again?
Well, we probably should call it, given how much money we spent, Up from the Sinkhole, right? But it's being called Up from the Rabbit Hole.
Yeah, that.
I'll explain how that name works on the first show.
Please do.
February 10th.
There we go. And you notice one thing? Why are we always looking the same? Why are they smiling and looking funny, and we're like looking like we're getting ready to tear each other apart? What's going on with that?
It's more like what the hell kind of.
Yeah, what did he just say?
Right. Or actually, in my case, it's probably more like, oh, he dropped another thing on me I don't know about.
Anyway, I'm looking forward to it. February 10th, 2 p.m. Eastern. What are we calling that? A pilot or something like that?
Yeah, it's a pilot episode. So that way, one of the things we're going to want from all of you who can give it to us is feedback, so we can improve it. And then we'll launch the full regularly scheduled series shortly thereafter. But this is a single pilot to start.
All right. I see all of our guests are in the green room.
Wow. They are on. They're punctual.
They've been here for a while. They've just been hanging out. There's nothing left to eat in the green room, so sorry about that.
Ran out of cronuts a long time ago.
Jeez, cronuts. Well, I have never had a cronut, and it just doesn't sound all that great, to be honest.
You know what? Me either.
Nah, I'm sticking to the blueberry bagel. So
I'm definitely not.
All right. So, do you want to set the stage and introduce? Because you haven't, you know what? Two of our guests, or is it three? All three. I don't think either of the three of the guests have been on our show before. So this means you really have to, do your venerable introduction for each of them.
Absolutely not a problem with these three. Okay, so just to generally set the stage, these are all analyst relations professionals at the top of their game. And the idea is, world's crazy right now. Business is going through a lot. How do you handle analyst relations in a period like this, and other things which will get far more wide ranging? Honestly, I don't remember anyone's titles, so I won't bother with them. But well, they're friends. You know, I've known these people, all of them. Well, actually, one of them not as long as the other two. So I'll start with the one I've known the longest, which is Ryan Zuk, and Ryan runs AR for Verint. I've known Ryan since I started in the industry. I met him way back in Sales Logic and Sage, all the way back then.
How old was he? Like 5? I mean,
yeah, basically.
Yeah.
He was 5, but he had 2 kids
Okay.
who are older than he was. Right. So,
Okay.
so I met Ryan in Arizona a long time ago. We hit it off immediately. He's one of my longest standing and oldest friends in the industry. He's been there since I started, and that it's really amazing. He's been he was at Sage and Sales Logic. He was at Kana, he was a Verint, you know, and some of that was through acquisition, but he does a spectacular job. He also, by the way, and this is just, I'm dredging up something that he and I talked about. He's very good with PR also, by the way. And he actually used to do some, I don't know if he still does, but he used to do some writing for the PR. I forget what the title is. It's the association.
PRSA?
Yeah, the PRSA. He did writing for them. And he's a really good writer. Okay, now, wait
a minute. One last thing.
Yeah,
I believe he's a Prince fan too, so he gets
he's
the seal of approval on that. A Prince fan.
Oh yeah,
so he gets the seal of approval on that.
Well, he's basically Chicago when it boils down to it. When it comes to sports too, so he's going to make it. He'll sail through, right? So, all right. Now, actually, the one I've known the second longest is Blake Stowell, and Blake. This guy, it's funny. I met him. I don't remember which Adobe conference it was, but it was back when it was still called the digital marketing. It was probably about a decade ago, really, at this point. And the thing that impresses you about Blake right away is he's very super friendly guy, but he's he's on top of everything. I mean, it's like I would talk to somebody there, and they basically, I didn't see Blake around, let's say, I would talk to Laura or someone else. They'd say, "Oh, go talk to Blake. He knows." Right? I mean, the guy is on top of everything, and he's the thing that he does so well is he's a warm, giving person. So what happens is that analysts just take to him, right? And again, we're talking about a guy at the top of his profession. The one I've actually known the least. Okay.
Wait a minute. Well, I just had a caveat. He was the one that had me do a 24-hour period of go from Atlanta to London to speak at an executive conference that they were doing before they did the European Digital Summit. So I literally did an overnight, did a talk, went to Five Guys with Ray Gerber.
I was going to say the Five Guys trip. The Five Guys
trip. It was great. It was awesome.
He said, "Yeah, I gave a talk too, but my real purpose was to go to London's."
Well, the Five Guys with Ray was really,
of course. That was great. That's a famous trip now in the lore of the industry, right? And then finally, the one I've actually known the shortest time, but also just completely adore. I mean, it's the best way to put it. And top of her game, in fact, is Sarita Kincaid. And Sarita, who runs corporate communications for SugarCRM, also won 2022 the IIAR Analyst Relations Professional of the Year. And Sarita is, I guess the best way to really describe it is anecdotally, when Brent and I went to a SugarCRM Analyst Summit, and I have to say, it might have been the best single organized analyst summit I've ever seen. There were customers there. Sarita was making sure that the customers and the analysts were always intermingling. She made sure that the SugarCRM staff were always available, meaning the executive leadership team was always available to the analysts. She took care of the analysts as well as built out this really useful and valuable, no wasted space kind of agenda, right? I mean, it was just beautifully put together, and that's Sarita. And again, you're talking about
I think
a
Siri
person
thought you
with
were
a
talking to her. I thought I
what
heard
was,
Siri in the background when you
oh
said Sarita. I think I heard Siri say,
yeah. Oh, you know what? This is what you heard Siri say. Oh, wasted space kind of agenda. Right. I meant it was just, I'm sorry. That's what Siri just
"Yeah,
said.
yeah,
That's what
she
it's,
certainly is." Let's just leave it
yeah,
at that.
you are
All right, let me
sorry.
throw my
You
little
know,
two-piece in
all right.
for Sarita because during the Sugar CRM Summit, Analyst Summit, we spent, I would say, she didn't have a lot of free time because she was doing all the stuff that you were saying.
Yeah.
But
Amazing.
in those rare moments she had of free time, she was blowing me away with all the sports that she knows.
Oh
I
my
mean,
God. Yeah.
it was like a faucet. Now I have to say I like her despite she's a Seahawk fan because I'm a Rams fan and we usually don't mix. But I really enjoyed hanging out with her, and yeah, it was great. And you think now's the time to bring them all three out?
I think so.
All right,
Let's
we
do
bring
it.
them all out. Well, in order of intro: Ryan Zuk,
There's
Hey
Brad.
guys.
Blake Stowell,
Woohoo.
and Sarita Kincaid.
Go Hawks and
Whoa.
Chargers.
Wow. Throwing a grenade right into the middle of the
Right
whole
on.
thing.
No,
Well,
at least
it's too late. They're out. So go Giants.
oh.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Well, I don't really give us much hope, but thank you anyway.
It's a tough
Right,
one.
so-
Yeah.
So let's given that we hopefully made you all blush a bit.
It's
we
a
should
coveted invite, Paul and Brent, by the way.
I'm going to be coughing throughout this, just so you know, so don't take it personally. I'm just somehow managed to get a respiratory infection and a fever. Just letting you know. I'll tell you, it's a funny story, but not now. Anyway, let's just start. AR, all three of you are like top flight people. We got a world where layoffs are coming everywhere. Analysts are, analysts, as you well know, on the personal side, have lots of friends at the companies that are being laid off, right? And being human, it impacts how they think of the company. I mean, how do you even consider dealing with something like that? Because you're dealing with what could be a dramatic problem if you don't get a hold of it and bring it in control. What do you do?
What a nice softball for these folks to start off.
Yeah. It's
Wow.
not to make light of it, but there's always something, right? So if it's not some economic recession or inflation, if it's not a pandemic, there's always something going on. There's always a delta or a gap, if you will, between the expectations and what you've got to kind of support and fulfill those expectations. So starting from the top, and we'll drill in, but a little bit of don't panic, take it for what it is. Do a lot of what you've done before. You need to reinvent a little bit, do some things better. But I would just start with we get a little bit of this every day, I think. And so some of it is just attaching the reality lens and putting it in context. That makes a little bit light of it, but just for openers, I think, we all kind of do a bit of this every day. But you did go large with chaos and the topic title here, Paul and Brent. So,
That's right.
That's what we try to do. We try to go large here, Ryan.
We're talking about Man from Uncle. Yeah.
I wanted to add to that too, what Ryan was saying. I mean, every day we're dealing with things with our companies. And the most important thing is, when they tee up to this question, analysts are people too. They realize that a whole company doesn't rest on one person, one solution. So I found analysts have been pretty understanding, even if you can't reveal details about what's going on behind the scenes. They have a pretty good idea. as Paul said. So it doesn't seem to really reflect too much on the company unless you have a ton of senior execs leaving, but another day with that topic.
Hey, Sarita, real quick, if you have a light that you could turn on the light your face up some, that would be great.
Sure. Let me see what I can do.
Yeah, you got a lot of backlight coming in. It looks like.
Yeah, I on the lead up, I don't have all that fancy gear. So let me see what I can find.
So you'll be tuning in on February 10th.
Absolutely. Right. Get rid of all this analog. All right. I will disappear for one moment to turn on a brighter light.
Okay.
Blake?
Oh, you're on mute, it looks like.
You're on mute for some reason, even though it's not showing a mute sign.
Yeah. Wow.
Better?
That is better. A little better. Blake, yeah, you might have to look at your audio source that you have set up in your settings for StreamYard, just because you might be pointing to a mic that you're not using.
Right.
Or you just might have your system muted.
Well, we're not seeing there's no mute button from StreamYard, so it's something.
No, that's why. Yeah,
right. It's something related to the system.
Yeah.
There's something at the very bottom of the screen on the browser that has a mute button.
Is in settings.
Yeah. Might try that.
Yeah, no, he's been pushing it on and on. It's not on StreamYard, but I think the audio source that StreamYard is using might not be the mic you're using. So you might just, okay, there you go. Check it out. All right. Well, in the meantime, while he gets set up, why don't we just take maybe a little step back and just talk about, I would love to get each of your perspective on how your job has changed over the last couple of years. I mean, let's say pre-pandemic to now, what are, if any, were there any significant changes in the way that you had to interact with folks like us, with analysts? How has it been? How's your relationship with us changed over the last couple of years?
I'll hop in. So for me, it's been a real unique experience in that I started at SugarCRM after the pandemic itself had started. So for 2 years, I had never met any analysts other than the ones I knew prior to coming to the company. So, I had never met any of my colleagues as well until COVID restrictions rescinded a bit. And so that itself was a huge challenge, how to make things happen in a purely virtual world, both with your influencers and your internal stakeholders. So obviously it's doing what everyone else has been doing, establishing those relationships, having one-off conversations, not just everything in a Zoom call, but making the extra effort to reach out and get to know people. And it was an interesting challenge getting to meet all the analysts, but you all are in the same position we are. So everyone's been pretty open to trying to figure this out together, but it has been unusual. Obviously, for a long time, there were no conferences, nothing in person at all. So that's really skewed the way that we can share information and get it. So interesting challenge. I'm glad that we seem to be coming out the other end.
Yeah, I think, there's more volume for sure. Some of that comes with just the companies we represent, growing and expanding. That's a good thing. Analysts, influencers, customers, partners, interests in what we're all doing, individually and sometimes collectively. That in and of itself creates some bandwidth issues. But I think a lot of it kind of comes down to people like, proof, validation, evidence. Sometimes it's, customer references is a simple example, but what are you doing? How well are you doing it? How often are you doing it? And, can you prove that out? And there's always some of that, but it just gets a little bit quicker to that kind of, meaningful and understandable, well-intended request and the need and ability for not just AR folks, but the great group of, folks that we work with to kind of communicate our story and fulfill the request. There's more on the volume, but more on the quality and the specificity that's needed to kind of deliver to these folks. And it's great fun doing for this community. So, keeping sort of the applying the reality lens or having the context regardless of what's going on in an economy, keeping that front and center analysts are great to work with and understand most of the time where you're coming from too, and challenges that a company has and how you're working through them. I think a lot of people meet in the middle and kind of work on it. It's just a great privilege to be in the industry doing this kind of work for so long. So I know that's maybe one of the intangibles, but in it together kind of thing usually works pretty good, especially with the more mature relationships and analysts and communicators who've known each other for a long time.
I think that that's it's a good point when you've had the relationships with people for a long time, but when you haven't, one of the secret sauces of AR is the ability to actually meet with the analysts and really understand them as a person, what matters to them, not just the business, but personal. Obviously, like you said, if you have those relationships, great. But I do think that part of what we do as AR people is the people part. It's not just the business. So you have to have a certain capability to be able to do an AR job and do it really well and do it strategically. But really what makes the difference, I think, is the connections that you have with the analysts and how you work together. So I do think that that's something, at least coming into a new role, that's very challenging during the economic and COVID downturn. Yeah.
Yeah,
What do you think,
that's a
Blake?
great. Yeah, I just want to say that's a great point, Sarita. And I was, thinking about the people part of it too. It's my favorite part and why I've done it so long. And as I was thinking about this, I wanted to be careful about how I say it, but repeatable is good, but be careful, not repeatable at the cost of personalization and into the relationship dynamics that Sarita was just mentioning. They're very important ones. But I was thinking, repeatable from the perspective of, on point, consistent, accurate. Yes, there's some time economies in there as well. But if you got a good story that you want to tell consistently, do that. And, each of these analysts that we, get to work with, they have their own personalities and flair and feedback that they'll give to us, and that starts to personalize the conversation too. But I was thinking about just sort of, cautiously saying repeatable, not to forego any of the relationship, the importance of the relationships, but there's an element to that, again, kind of when you have a lot of requests to fulfill and only so many resources, people, time, access to knowledge and information to do it. So, that gap again kind of comes into play. But really liked what Sarita was saying about, it's the relationships are the fun part and really the key part to this that make it all go. So I couldn't help but sort of tag on to what you're saying, Sarita. And you work with Claire, right?
I do.
Okay. Well, I'm among her legions of many fans and
Very nice.
Thanks to her and Paul kind of brought me to where I am now via the Verint's Kana acquisition. So hello to Claire.
Excellent.
Blake?
I'll pass it along.
Nope.
Oh no,
Not here. Damn.
Shoot.
Why don't you try logging out and coming back in and
Yeah.
see how we get there? And we'll be on the lookout for you. I'll be on the lookout in the green room for you. So, all right, I'll just let them come back in.
So, Brent, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna ask how is your relationship with like the marketing folks? How has that evolved over the last couple of years? And maybe it feels like you guys, analyst relations, you have internal and external kind of customers, so to speak. And I know there are certain parts of the organization that wants to have certain things said about what they're working on positively, and so they kind of look at it from more of a marketing perspective. But analysts don't want to look or feel like they're part of your marketing material. They come at it from another kind of direction. So how is your job kind of changed, and how's the relationship you have with your internal customers evolved as your relationship with guys like us evolved too?
I'll hop in. Oh, do you want to go ahead, Ryan? Go ahead.
I'll rattle on for a bit here. Yeah, it's a great relationship. There's sort of a, one of my former colleagues, Ann, would say, and it's still, it's a cliche, but it still goes around, takes a village. So sometimes we have those takes a village projects. I sometimes call them, bring the family projects. If we got on a briefing today, it felt like we had a whole boat full of Verint folks on. It was a great positive thing. We had a couple of lead spokespeople, but interested parties on to kind of interact with and get to know a analyst who's relatively new to us, and she was great with it. Anyway, back on track here. The marketing folks, if anything, I see more interest, need, desire for a lot of the proof points and the validation that we get from the analyst community, bring it internal a little bit more, and some of the advisory opportunities that get maybe a little bit more confidential, and into the rolling up your sleeves and working on some specific projects, but great insight and feedback and skin in the game, if you will, by some of those really important industry movers and influencers to help us out on the front end of things. And so not just marketing, but AR, it isn't an island for sure. There's lots of internal relationships, certainly marketing, sales, even employee communications. Our employees like to. We should probably do it a little bit more, but they love when we put an analyst on and we can sort of bring a group on and kind of hear the analyst share their current view of the world. So. Just to say that the marketing relationship here, at least, and I suspect many places, is great. It's important. It's tightly linked. Paul and Brent, we've got Celia kind of steering the ship, and with somebody like Celia, it all comes together, in any way, or she'll have it come together. And I don't know, just the spirit of collaboration is definitely there. So I don't know if that gets to your different question, Brent, other than there seems to be more requests for the type of activities that we can do. And I think that's a great thing. It's keeps me in business, and it's great for business. So, Sarita, it's a little bit more of a wind up than probably you were needing, but
no, so my experience, I was hired by our CMO, Claire, that you referenced earlier. So I was brought into the marketing team with welcome arms, which is great. And, I was tasked with kind of revamping and growing the AR program as it was. It had been very successful and they wanted to grow more. And so I was really focused on awareness. The company had just done, or was in the midst of a rebranding campaign. And so, I focused from an AR perspective, kind of getting my feet wet the first year, like I said, really on awareness and kind of inclusion. But as I worked with different parts of the company and still do product management pretty heavily, and other areas as well. And so, as I look forward, in my job, obviously I'll still be working very closely with marketing, but also evolving the program. Some of my goals are to work on aligning AR with the sales program, as well as you touched on it, Ryan, about bringing insights into the business. And we can discuss what that might mean later, so I can give Blake a chance. I think he's online now. Yeah, with audio.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. All right.
I'm so sorry you missed out on what I was saying before, because it was so eloquent.
It probably got recorded, Blake, and Brent can do the playback.
But Paul telegraphed to me the question that we're all trying to address here about the relationship between marketing and AR, and it made me think about a quote that I have heard was attributed to Gideon Gartner a number of decades ago. I don't know if this quote is true or not, but what I saw on this slide was that Gideon Gartner said at one point to the Gartner analysts that every day you should wake up and get down on your knees and pray for more confusion in the marketplace. Because the more confusion there is in the marketplace, the more you need analysts. And I think as we've gone through this period of COVID, we're going through a period of some industry upheaval. There is confusion in the marketplace, and customers are wanting to know, where should I place my bets? Where should I invest in technology? Where should I, what should I be doing? And because of that, I think it has strengthened the relationship between marketing and analyst relations, because marketing needs analyst relations to help provide that clarity that the analysts can give them to help overcome that confusion.
So let me take it somewhere else, because there's, I mean, over the years, we've seen things like, initially Gartner, Forrester, IDC, you'd see the institutional big analyst firms, and then boutique analyst firms started showing up. Yeah, it's not as linear as I'm making it, but, with say like Constellation or Ventana or whatever. And then the independents are, we're basically like all the birds in the movie The Birds. There's millions of us,
Wow,
right?
really?
So,
We're like the birds and
yeah, well,
okay.
that's
You're getting British on us.
well. I'm also saying we'll peck your eyes out, right? So,
My God.
right. So, but there's a million independent analysts now, and yet, so there's two pieces to this. Part one is there's still a lot of AR models that basically ignore the fact that Brent, me, and other independents exist at all, right? Which is always astonishing to me. Just
Well, at least
not because I actually care, but because I think it's stupid.
At least Chat GPT recognizes us, though.
Right,
We got
that's
that.
right. we beat them all out. I think the only analyst I ever saw in a Chat GPT thing on CRM was Michael Mose showed up, and he's at Salesforce now. Anyway, but that also opened another. So the models are evolving. Obviously, all three of you guys have had no issue with the idea of engaging with independents at all. But there's another interesting nuance to the model, I think, which is the difference between analysts and influencers. And, like, for example, there are companies who, if you're looking at their model, it's not AR, it's IR. And the analysts are part of it, right? Because there are influencers out there who are not analysts, but do have an impact. For example, business influencers, say in retail or something like that. I'm not talking about brand influencers here. I'm talking about business influencers, right? How do you each of you think about just how do you engage those kind of influencers? Again, not analysts. And secondly, how do you even think about a model that brings both groups together into a single unit, or do you think about that model? That's a hard one.
Yeah, making it sound too simple for a second. With independent analysts and larger firms. I mean, if you just kind of back to what Sarita was saying a bit about people and relationships. Maybe I'm a little old school, but if you look at each for their, individual qualities and value add first, whether they're, with Gartner, IDC, or whether they're, kind of running their own boutique or just an individual analyst, then you can kind of mitigate a little bit of that because you're about the person and what their focus is. That's not perfect, but just to say that, just wanted to get in that I really enjoy the individual people. They have they've got a lot of great attributes and knowledge to add, regardless of who they're affiliated with often. I would say that there's not a perfect delineation sometimes between the influencers who are not analysts, and sometimes that gets fuzzy. We have a little, some, I don't know, different approaches or some additional team members who help, address and support them, not to completely silo them, but just to try to cater to their individual interest, or a lot of times projects, kind of market-facing, customer-facing projects that we'll do with them. And then you might have somebody who starts as one and broadens, a little bit more into the analyst realm. And I think that sort of, I don't know, relationship maturity model is a different one. That just kind of takes you along. I like to start with the individuals at hand and go from there. there's some differences, and so you have to separate a little bit. But bringing everybody together for a great event, for example, is a good thing. So I don't know. I think you start with the individual. Was my main point.
For me, I am a one-person AR program right now. So I'm not thinking so much within the lines. I figure out who can help me with my goals. So whatever the goal might be, different people, as you said, Ryan, play different parts in your ecosystem, in your influencer ecosystem, whether they're analyst, influencer, a mix of both. So that's how I approach it. Just, hey, who can help me get to where I need to be? And that's how I go forth.
Yeah, and I would piggyback off of what Sarita just said. It depends on what it is you're trying to accomplish. And, analysts are great for certain roles. Influencers are great for certain roles. And we use them for different things, but we absolutely do look at influencers and believe in the importance of cultivating relationships with them and working with them.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, thinking in terms of business outcomes and who can best help you get there is great, succinct way of saying it. Like,
what are some of the ways that the analysts and the influencers have changed, in your opinion? That
Can I start?
Oh, wow. Okay, let me get out of the way.
Sorry. Did you have a second half to that question?
No, I go.
Well, I'm sure that my co-panelists will agree with this, but if you think about, because you guys have probably been doing AR for a little while as well. When I first started in AR back at Cisco Systems in the late aughts, not to age myself, but everything was Gartner, Forrester, IDC, and a couple independents. Well, since then, with the kind of falling down of like the trade pubs and other media, you see a lot of media become analysts, and you see a lot of analysts become bloggers, and now analysts are writing for Forbes and other business pubs. So I think everything has really morphed a lot, and it's AR such a great place to be, and being an analyst is a great thing as well. There's so many different areas and ways that you can share your insights, your opinion, your advice. So I just think that the whole landscape has changed, and smart AR people have to change with it. You cannot be thinking in silos, or else you're going to have a pretty, narrow AR program.
Yeah, there's always been, and it changes some, but I think a constant that's kind of stayed or maybe got amped up is, I just think of it as the intersection of analysts and journalists, for example. It doesn't have to just be analysts and journalists, but when when one journalist asks one analyst about a brand, a vendor, their product or something, what does that analyst say about it? Is it positive, negative, or neutral? Track the trend there, and who's who maps or aligns to the topic at hand. There's always an interesting, a fascinating intersection between a lot of the deep thinkers, not just analysts, but definitely including analysts, and some of the covering the news of the day journalists, and who they go to when a particular topic pops up, and learning that, knowing that, trying to be on the radar of those folks, for good reasons, for good intentions, but also to just do your job and try to be in the right place at the right time. It does a lot. It means a lot. There's just those connections that you can kind of track, and I don't know, I think you have to know to be successful. There's always been some of that, but probably more so with large firms, boutique firms, many independent analysts. It's challenging but fun to navigate.
One thing I would say, and I'm sure my colleagues on this panel would agree because they've probably experienced this, but I would say during the COVID years, business models for a lot of the big analyst firms changed, and things have become more expensive. Policies have become more inflexible, and that has opened up opportunities for independents and influencers and others to, I think, work with IT companies and software companies in a way that maybe they didn't have that opportunity before. And so it's created that opportunity for them.
Yeah, there's some, some broader, bodies of work, if you will, now, or some maybe foundational, some anchor points that maybe this is maybe a little bit leaning more to some of the larger firms, but there's IDC's future of work. There's a vast set of topics within and underneath that and all around it that you can connect yourself to, learn from, or kind of get your story across through, potentially. If the analysts, if you have something that can help them with the research, Gartner's got their CX core and TX, total experience. Ventana getting deeper into specific industries. I just see it as there's some interesting lenses, if you will, that some of it's the larger firms, but even an individual analyst can kind of differentiate themselves or stake their claim or assert their expertise in a particular area. For us at Verint, some of those really smart independent analysts in the contact center area, for example. But just to note, there's some, I just think of them as sort of anchor or almost kind of platform topics or bodies of research that are interesting, and some of these firms seem to have them kind of be their lead into where they're going in the next 5 years or so, and trying to attach a lot of things to that research. So I find that interesting, and I think there's something there to not force fit topics, but to find pieces of that are valuable both internally for our executives, our product managers, our strategists, and how they can use some of that, and externally to try to stand out from the crowd once in a while with some interesting success stories, for example, or innovations.
Can we ask you guys a question too, Paul and Brent?
Do you know Steve Gilmore?
Yeah. He turns our shows
around.
around.
Well, I'm just curious on the topic of AR and the economic downturn. So what have you guys seen? Have you seen AR professionals working in different ways? Are they communicating differently, more or less different? Any high level thoughts?
It's so specific to the individual. It's hard to really make a trend out of it. I mean, there are companies which shall remain unnamed that I don't even want to deal with anymore. And that's happened because of the last couple of years. There are companies that I've strengthened the relationship to because of the last couple of years. But a lot of that has to do in part with, it's a combination of changes in their program combined with, and just be candid, how they treat me. I mean, there are companies that, how would I put it? Companies I've known a long time and I've worked with a long time too. But other new people come in, and new people decide you're something else now, which is fine. Again, I don't take offense. I just know not to deal with the company as much. That's all. People make their own decisions, and so the programs have shifted. Although I didn't find personally engagement, in the actual context that we use it, meaning financial engagement. I haven't found that reduced particularly. What I have found is seeing more generic material than I used to. Though effectively, even if you're a tier 1 analyst to somebody, you're getting materials that if you will get, let's put it this way, the word tier 3 and cadence are involved in them one way or the other. When cadence is literally my least favorite word. To me, if you're talking about cadence, that means you're a drummer, right? So, right, I just hate it. But you're basically seeing, because budgets have been cut, right? So materials where they could give you individual have an individual discussion or a small group discussion just become a press release or something like that. I've seen that happen a bunch of times, but it's really, I think, boils down to how the individuals themselves have dealt with the crisis in combination with whatever the programs have been hit with at the company.
Yeah.
Yeah, I look at it. It's really about the individual relationships
Yep.
that you have with. Now, of course, things that happen within the organization impact the person you're interacting with. Yeah, and I guess it comes also with being around for so long. I mean, not only do you know a lot of people, you really know them,
Yeah.
and
Your friends.
they know you. I mean, like don't give me an AR person who likes the Patriots. I'm sorry, that's not gonna work.
Not here.
But no, it really it's interesting because over the 2.5 years, 3 years of the pandemic, there are certain vendors that hire a lot of new people, and it's a different dynamic. Those folks are younger, generally speaking, and they're maybe like millennial or in some instances Gen Z, and they don't know how long you've been interacting with the organization or how much you know about the organization or the platform, and that it's not a bad thing. It's just a thing, and it's something that you have to kind of figure out, the dynamics of that aspect. But
Yeah.
I really do think it is about the individuals, and I think certain analysts fare better with with these changes, and some are dug in and they don't necessarily want to change the way they've done things over the years. I'm okay. I don't mind. I like learning new stuff and hearing from new people. Sometimes I get tired of the same old. It's kind of nice to be able to get a little bit different perspective or a little bit different interaction type. It's okay. I actually look forward to some of that. So
Yeah, I agree with that, Brent. That's a good point. Your point about getting in front of different people. I can think of just one example where an analyst said, "Yeah, this is great that you got some marketing people on the phone with me here, but that where's everybody else?" Or said it in a kind way, but in a little bit of a challenging way. To hey, up the game here a little bit with how you're treating me, and it was for a moment I was sweating that out, but then I thought she really just said how to tailor it for her and get more specific and make Verint more valuable and attractive for her, for example. So and Brent, I thought so I do think getting people in different roles, it doesn't have to just be executives, but that helps. If your CEO can get in front of these folks, there's nothing wrong with that. But the title often doesn't matter. It's sort of the scope and level of detail and just the character of some of the people that you try to merge together. You were talking about Sarita, I think, trying to get customers and analysts and product managers and stuff together at their event. That's great. Brent, I thought of, seeing you out in DC in December, and yes, there were certainly some familiar faces for you there, but hopefully you saw that there were some other folks that you in different roles at our company that you hadn't heard from before or interacted with. And we were internally, at least, we were really happy with that, or, kind of proud of adding that extra ring or that extra level of people for you to interact with. So just playing on some of the changes, and it's better to go a little bit into the takes a village sometimes and get some of your other smart people with the analysts and see what happens.
Let's I want to wrap this up with a story, actually. It's one I know Ryan knows, Brent knows, a couple other people know, you guys may not know it, but to the point that's been, This is the what?
Yankees thing?
No. No, it's a Gaylord National
I
Harbor.
like the
thing.
Gaylord.
Right. So to the point being made frequently here, which was the relationships are the primary thing. Look, ultimately, AR people, senior execs, they're your friends, right? They're people that when they leave that, one of the things that's been noticeable about customer facing ecosystems is that it sort of has each other's backs. For example, when AR people sometimes want to move on, just got let go, whatever, they go to the analysts who are their friends to see, what do you know? Can you help here, here, and here? You'll see that with executives at companies do the same thing. Look, I have a regular lunch every month, once a month, with an Oracle CMO. One of the CMOs, Oracle, happens to live really close to here. We hang out for 4 hours at lunch on a Friday, and that's that. But do we
That's a
talk
long
business?
lunch. Did you say you hang out for lunch for 4 hours?
Yeah, we do. What happens is he comes back to the house, and then we.
I was going to say
open
the cave
open-
probably factors into that.
Yeah, exactly right. The bar is open. But here's the story. It goes to the friendship thing. So years ago, when Ryan was still at Sage, Sage got acquired by this French company. And the French company leadership were a bunch of absolute dicks. I mean, they were horrible people. And I still remember one of their things they did, and this isn't even the horror. This is just the stupid part of it. They decided to change the name of all the products to numbers. So it wouldn't be like SFA. It would be like 108, right? and there were 8 analysts there who were all I think all were independents, because Brent and I were there, and Laurie McCabe and some others,
Right.
Dennis Pombriant. Yeah. Well, I think, were they all independent?
Yeah.
So here's what happened. We all had lunch in the Gaylord, and we all hated what we heard. Every last one of us hated it. And here's the thing, though. We knew that if we did what we wanted to do, which was to completely shred them, Ryan potentially could be in trouble. And we literally decided, because we loved Ryan, that we would do it we would be critical, but not with any edge at all, right? And it was strictly for that reason. That's the only reason we did it. And it was all 8 unanimous. There was nobody complained. And if you ever read what came out, they were critical, but they weren't, let's say, we were all willing to be malevolent, man. I mean, it was so bad. But we refused to, because we were worried how it would impact Ryan. That's what I'm talking about. And those are the kind of relationships that are there. So
I want to add that I was grateful for my time with Sage and thank them for employing me. So some of the story goes sideways there, but to make
he had nothing to do with it. We did. So
That was a good story. I forgot about that.
yeah,
it's a really good story, and it's a true story. We had 8 people who cared enough about Ryan to make sure that he was protected while we still did our job, right? So that's what I'm saying. Those are the kind of things that people are willing to do because of the deep personal friendships. Look, I mean, think of it this way. How many analysts that you guys know have either left the analyst world and are doing something else that you're still in touch with every now and then, all the time, whatever? You're just in touch with people. You don't care where they work. They're your friends, right? So who cares? Look, guy who ran SAP's business influencer program drives a bus in California right now, and he's happy. And I talk to him once every 4 to 6 months, right? His wife runs for office. I contribute to her campaign. I mean, he's a friend, and he's always been a friend. And why would you not want to be in touch with your friends, right? Just because there's nothing, it's not just business, okay? So, and with that, I think we do have to wrap, but thank you for all of you for being here.
Thank you for having us. It's been a lot of fun.
Great. I guess technically we do have to, ask the question, although we already
do
know the answer for certain of you. Sarita, I'm going to bypass you because
no, I want to talk to you. No,
you're,
go ahead.
You're a Seahawks fan, and we don't have to.
And Chargers.
And Chargers. So, Ryan, I don't know if I've ever asked you this.
I know though.
Do you have a
I know.
favorite NFL team?
Oh
What's
yeah, I
that?
know. Ryan and I have talked about it.
What's
A
your
lot.
what's your favorite football team?
Oh,
NFL.
it's the Bears. So we
Right.
got the
Okay,
number
we're
one
good.
pick is the upside.
Right.
All
The
right.
downside is, we won 3 football games this year compared to year 5, Brent. So
Yeah.
Good draft picks though.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
at least we're still the reigning champs until like 3 weeks from now or somehow.
Yeah, right.
Hanging my
Similar
head on
to
Rams.
Chicago Cubs spring training for baseball.
All
Always
right,
looking forward to next year. Yeah.
Blake.
So now the way out. Now we've had a really great conversation, Blake.
Wait.
We've
Okay.
enjoyed everything that you've said so far, in addition to what Ryan and Sarita said. But if you answer this question wrong, we'll probably never speak to you again. So not to put any pressure on you, but do you have a favorite football team?
I hate to end it on this note, but
Patriots.
I was born in West Seattle. I grew up in the Pacific Northwest, so I am a Seahawks fan.
Yay!
Oh, no.
Two
That's
Hawks.
not the wrong.
Look, I'm not
Right.
upset at that.
Hey, Blake, Hawks.
All right, let's not get carried away. All right?
Do you,
There's no.
guys, I know you're wrapping. Anybody got an upset in the next round of games this week?
Giants beat the Eagles. Nah,
We're
I
going
don't
for
really
the
think so,
Giants.
but
Yeah, we're Giants fans. Look, I grew up out 30 minutes outside of Philadelphia, so I can't stand the Eagles. Their fans are ridiculous.
yeah, they are
So,
horrible. Eagles
the
are
only
Phillies
team-
fans.
I hate the Cowboys more,
Oh.
but there it is. So no, I'm a Giants fan.
Right
from
now,
here
me
on out.
too. Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's my team for
All
my
right.
whole life. So
So
However it
in
turns
the
out.
spirit of what we just talked about, we usually end our show with a picture, and that picture is of our favorite dog in the industry, and that picture is of our friend Minnie.
Minnie.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's
So on
that,
behalf
by the way,
of
well,
Nice.
but
Go ahead.
that's
Go ahead.
Ann Chen,
Awesome.
that's actually Ann Chen's dog. So it's an
Oh.
AR dog.
yes, AR dog,
Awesome.
and
Nice.
look, we even have mugs. Do I have my mug? Anyway,
Mine's in the other
Ann
room.
actually had a mug with Minnie's image on our mug, so that shows you the relationships. Anyway, all right.
Nice.
On behalf of Blake Stowell, Ryan Zuk, Sarita Kincaid, Brent Leary,
I'm Paul Greenberg.
we are the CRM Playaz, and next week is actually a kind of a big one. Matter of fact, can I show why I said that?
Yeah, sure.
If I can.
This is why.
This is a special thing that's taking place next week, exactly a week from today.
Very important that you look
That
at
ain't
these.
it.
No.
That's it. So what you're looking at, and let me do this. Let me even break the screen. Let me give the full attention to the screen. All right. So what you're seeing here is the Venerable Paul Greenberg's announcement on his ZDNet blog on January 26, 2009, announcing the CRM Playaz. So next week marks the 14th anniversary
Ooh.
of the CRM Playaz. How about
Congratulations, guys.
Good job.
That is amazing.
Nice.
that's yeah, who would have thought?
It was
Not me.
no me either. We didn't even we found out because who was it? Was Pierre Holsipus was the one who found it for us?
Somebody.
Somebody actually found that. I forgot completely.
Said you got some archival footage of
Well, actually, we kind of do. We kind of do. It's the basement, the man cave footage.
Yeah, you need
Not
to do
the
a
footage.
through the
Not
years
footage.
montage, you know.
It's
Yeah, there are some
photo-
lost
yeah.
episodes. Yeah.
Yeah, there's 6 lost episodes. It's photos. We don't have footage, but we have.
No,
photos.
remember, we actually we got HubSpot footage. It's out there.
Oh,
somewhere.
that's right.
And we also have, remember when this is when we thought we were gonna hit the big time, when Social Media Today and IBM actually sponsored a TV crew to come to Paul's man cave and shoot a series of episodes with me and him in the man cave.
And
Wow.
Cool.
Nobody knows where that footage is.
I will tell you though,
Nobody.
as it worked out, that
there's some
TV
lots of
crew
stuff.
was awesome. They actually got involved in the footage. That's all we can
Yeah.
say.
Oh, that's great.
And the only downside is nobody will ever see that footage
That's
again.
right. We have no idea where it is. So
Congratulations on your milestone.
Yes.
And on
Thank
that
you.
note,
all
all right, folks.
guys.
Thanks
Thanks
again.
for having
and we will
us.
see you
Thanks, everybody. Good
next
fun.
week.
Thank you.
Thank you.